A desperate father sends his son to live with his mother. 14 months later, the mother sends him to the morgue. And what about her adult son who helped put him there? Is he a victim or an enforcer? Join us as we find out if the jury sends them home or sends them away. Please note that the content of this recording may contain graphic material, including torture, and explicit language may be used. The opinions are of my own and may be offensive to some listeners. They are my opinions. Everyone has them, and if you do not agree, then ignore them like an adult and move on. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Hey Ravens, welcome to the Ravens Knock. I'm your host, Amy. I want to thank you guys for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and also referring your friends. If you're not a premium member, you can do so for $7 a month, which is like a cup of coffee. It does help the show out, as podcasting is not free. And you get ad-free content, bonus episodes that no one else gets. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Raven Knocks. I'm your host, Amy.
And I'm Jamie.
And today we have a very good story for you. It's kind of a long one, so if you can just strap on in, we'll get started. So it's 5:30 a.m. and Paul gets woken up by his mother stating that his brother Timothy isn't breathing. He jumps out of the bed and goes to check on him, and sure enough, he isn't breathing. They drag him from the closet to the living area and attempt to resuscitate him, but it's no use. He's already gone. Paul asks his mother, "Are you going to call 911? "No," she says. "Help me put some clothes on him." Timothy is wearing an adult diaper. He's 15 years old, but sometimes he has accidents. He is a high-functioning autistic with a sensory disorder, and he also has ADHD. However, he is on grade level, doesn't have any impairments, other than his mother stated that he's just not coordinated. They put a hoodie on him and a pair of Paul's jeans. The clothes are way too big, and Shonda, his mother, makes Paul put on his belt. Then Shonda removes the memory cards out of some cameras, and then she puts the motion detectors and the single individual motion detectors in one bag. Now you need to put that in your back pocket. Then they call 911. Paul says he does. Shonda says she did. They both decide that they're going to tell the police that he went on a hunger strike. EMS and fire and police arrive within 5 to 10 minutes of the call. EMS was already there and had declared Timothy dead. The police officer arrived. Upon seeing him, he was shocked. He stated that Timothy was malnourished, so much so that his bones were protruding from his skin. He got a statement from the mother, and she said that around 5:30 a.m., she was woken up by a thump, which was Timothy falling out of the top bunk of his bed. She came down, and he said he was fine. So she helped him back up in the bed and went back upstairs. At around 6:30, she came down to check on him before she got ready for work and noticed that he wasn't breathing. That's when they tried CPR and called 911. EMS stated that there's no way he died an hour and a half or so before they got in there. She then stated that it could have been earlier. EMS believed that had been way earlier than what she was saying. I couldn't find anything that said if he was in rigor or not. The police interviewed both the son, Paul, and Shonda, and Paul stated that his mother loved them very much and she wouldn't do anything to harm them. They was only punishing him. He stated that he would watch Timothy and G, which is his youngest brother, while his mother worked, and when she came home, he went to work. He worked as a dishwasher at Applebee's, and Shonda worked at the courthouse. He said that Shonda's husband, Adam, was in the living room at home, but he had a stroke and was unable to maneuver the stairs, so he moved back in with his parents in January. So it was just Shonda, Paul, Timothy, and little G. After the police left, she went to her in-laws' house, and on the way there, she threw the bag of sensors in a trash can at Chick-fil-A, and she had broke the memory cards into pieces and threw it out the window on the way there. He said that Timothy slept in the closet. He had a bed, but he had removed the bolts and it wasn't safe anymore, so he couldn't have a bed. He didn't have a mattress either because he kept tearing up the mattress cover. So he had a blue tarp in which he laid on. He had a camera and a motion sensor in there. He stated there were cameras everywhere. You could speak and also hear through the cameras. There were also motion sensors. There was even a camera in the bathroom.
Wow, why would they put a camera in the bathroom?
Well, the shower curtain was removed, so his mother was able to see in the tub. Shonda wanted to be able to see everywhere in the house and everything her kids were doing.
She sounded super controlling.
Oh, she was controlling to the extreme.
Jesus.
They also had vibration sensors that were placed on Timothy, some on the wrist and one on his belt loop. He had locks on the doors because Timothy had issues with sneaking around at night. It was to keep him from getting food and supposedly to keep him safe. As far as punishments go, food was taken and he was forced to take ice baths. In these ice baths, he was held in uncomfortable positions and he was in there for hours. He would have to stand with his nose against the wall, with his hands on top of his head, and he would have to wear vibration sensors, and if his hands dropped, he would have a harsher punishment.
You're saying he was in ice baths for how long?
Hours.
Oh my God.
And then he would have to stand with his nose against the wall with his hands on top of his head. And if his hands would drop, then he would have a harsher punishment because he had those vibration sensors. Now, this lasted for hours. And then when his hands would sometimes be handcuffed with either handcuffs or zip ties. Sometimes he would have to run up and down the stairs outside, even if it was cold and raining, and he would have to do this until he was about to fall over. Sometimes he would be forced on his knees with his hands on top of his head with his nose against the wall, again unable to drop his arms for hours. Sometimes he was made to stand and not move all night long. Hot sauce was used straight in the mouth, or when he was allowed to eat, which is when he was punished, he got bread with hot sauce on it.
Oh my God.
Once he ate it, he had to wait 30 minutes, and then he was allowed a plain piece of bread. She also requested Paul to put hot sauce on Timothy's penis. This hot sauce is supposed to be one of the hottest sauces that you can get. He got in trouble for eating the crust of a hamburger, so he got hot sauce.
Oh my God. What is wrong with these people?
I have no idea. He was also made to vomit. He then was forced into an ice bath. When he had to pee, he had 1 minute. When he had to poop, he had 2 minutes. And then he got punished for accidents.
How can you poop in 2 minutes?
I don't know. I would really like to know, because I would love to be able to just poop in 2 minutes.
Me
Wouldn't you?
too. I know, because at work, nobody would know I was pooping.
No kidding. I could go get my shit done and be done, because pooping's a waste of time for me. I've got better stuff to do than...
I know. I'm like, hurry up. Come on. I got to go.
Yeah, I know. But instead, I'm like, I got to be here a while. I might as well watch a TikTok.
But God
Or
bless
two.
his heart.
Or 3.
That's how people get stuck in the bathroom.
Yeah, I know.
saw this sign just the other day. I think it was on Facebook, where people in the office had put a sign up in the bathroom that said, you have a 10-minute timer on how long you're in the bathroom, or like you get written up or something. No cell phones in the bathroom.
Oh, I know. I mean, shoot, you might as well get paid for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, who times a kid?
Exactly.
You know?
That's insane. I mean, we make a lot of that part of it, but the truth is, like, that is ultimate control. That's just abuse.
Yeah. He would have to stay in the closet for hours. He never went to public school or a doctor, and he never left the house for the entire time that he lived there. He lived with his dad, but in May of 2021, his father sent him to live with his mother. He had been living with his mother for a year at this point.
So did those things take place at Dad's house or Mom's house?
No, Mom's house.
Oh, so before that, he did go to public school.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You would think that somebody would recognize that the kid wasn't going to school anymore.
Well, apparently his dad lived in a different state.
Oh, so she got by with that. Huh?
Yeah. Once, Paul took a photo and sent it to Shonda because he was concerned, and told her that he could see his bones and they actually needed to feed him. And
now, who sent that?
Paul.
Son.
Her oldest son.
Okay.
Yeah. And she responded and she said, okay, give him a piece of bread.
What the fuck?
He said he gave him peanut butter and jelly sandwich and scrambled eggs with cheese. He said he didn't tell his mother because he didn't want her to be upset with him. Now, the day before Timothy died, Paul said that he was unresponsive. He yelled at him to wake him up. Shonda told him to put him in the ice bath, which he did. He said he had to drag him from the closet to the bathroom because he couldn't stand or walk and he wasn't talking. Around 2 o'clock p.m., he put him in the bath. You get that? 2 o'clock. Shonda told him to make him uncomfortable. When that didn't work, she told him to bribe him with a pizza roll, and she didn't care if it was cooked or frozen. He did, and he did respond, and he took it away from him. From 2 to 6, he sat in the ice bath.
2 a.m. to 6 a.m.
2 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Oh my God.
Shonda also told him to put hot sauce on his penis, but he refused, but didn't tell her. Well, Paul went to work, left him in the tub. His mother took him to work. Shonda came home, left him in the bath, texted him around 11 p.m., but he was busy working, and so he didn't see it until later. At 11:30 p.m., he was still in the tub.
Oh my God.
He returned home at 1 a.m. A coworker had brought him home, and he went straight to bed. Sometime between 11:30 and 1 is when she put him to bed.
Wow. Okay, so get this straight. He was in the ice bath for how many hours?
From 2 p.m. till between 11:30 p.m. and 1 a.m.
Wow.
The next morning, his mother woke him up with the news. Paul admitted to sending texts to his mom stating that he wanted to beat Timothy up One time, he said he wanted to kill him. However, to be fair, the prosecutor did not allow him to explain. Whenever he brought food into the house, whenever his mother was at work, he had opportunities to feed his brother, without her knowing, but he never did.
You think it was because of the cameras?
Well, it could have been, but there's a way to sneak. What the prosecutor was getting at is there's a way to go around the cameras, if you need
and
to.
all that time that he's at work, why couldn't he call the law?
Yeah, while she was at work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like he could have gotten help. There's no cameras outside. Like he could have took him outside in the backyard, or they could have had their backs to the camera, and he could have said, here, eat this or whatever. And the time that he made him peanut butter and jelly and scrambled eggs, never told his mom if he could do it then. Why didn't he do it before?
Right.
I mean, he had several opportunities to feed his brother, but chose not to.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his point.
Yeah.
Now, Shonda stated that she had a Bachelor of Science degree and also a Juris Doctor law degree, and she graduated the top of her class. In fact, she passed the bar exam on the first try and scored extremely high. She scored a 182 out of a 200.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's a very hard test to pass. She worked at the same courthouse she was being tried in.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
The tables turn.
Yeah, talking about embarrassing. She stated that she tried to enroll Timothy in the high school, but he owed money at the school where he went to previously with his dad, and he had damaged a Chromebook, and they would not send over the school records until they were paid. Remember that.
Okay.
She also didn't take him to the doctor because she didn't have time. She's the only parent working. She said she got a phone call from her ex stating that he couldn't deal with Timothy and that he was sending him to her, and she said that's fine. She said when she got him, he came with a gallon-sized bag filled with medication. However, she said he was no longer taking them because she couldn't get them filled because she couldn't take them to the doctor because she didn't have time.
Oh.
But she was going to have them take him off the medication anyway because when she got him, he was a zombie. But I wonder what she was doing on the weekends, because she definitely wasn't cleaning the house because body cam showed the house.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
Really?
Yeah, like trash was everywhere.
Did they ever talk about what she did on the weekends?
No. And a lot of doctors are open on the weekend.
Nowadays, for sure.
Yeah, and not only that, but as far as I know, most places, especially a courthouse, you would think would let you off at least a half a day to take your son to the doctor.
Right, and she could have made phone calls to his previous doctor to get temporary refills on things.
Yeah, until she got him in.
Yeah, I mean, you put your kid in front of everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, working for the county like that, she had paid time off.
Oh, yeah. But just keep that in your back pocket because the story's going to change. So, her mother-in-law only saw the kids one time in 6 months. She has no family around. Her brother lives in Oklahoma. Her oldest kids live out of state, and her sisters live in Alabama, where she's from. They don't speak to her.
That should tell you something about her.
Mm-hmm. Her oldest two children do not speak to her either. She said it was stressful being the single parent and being the only provider other than Paul. She was getting $1,000 a month deducted from her paycheck from back child support. She said she had insomnia due to ADHD. I do too. I have both of those. She has a sensory disorder. Remember that. She has OCD. And I was wondering, well, what does she have OCDs for? It's definitely not clean house. Yeah. And she developed PTSD with disassociation after her husband had a stroke. She said they did have leg irons in the house, but she never used them.
Leg irons being
Leg cuffs, like they used to shackle prisoners' legs.
what for? Did she use them for sex or something?
No, they had them in the house, but they wasn't hers. They were Paul's. Apparently, Paul used them to use with his Legos for TikTok videos. I still don't know how you'd use those for Legos, but okay.
Full-size human leg cuffs.
Yes.
For Legos?
Yeah, like you would shackle a prisoner with. Yep.
Okay.
She said she doesn't remember anything having to do with zip ties. She said because she has PTSD with disassociation, she doesn't remember a lot. And that disassociation is very convenient for her, let me tell you.
Sounds like it.
When the prosecution got a hold of her, she stated that she didn't have legal custody of Timothy. So she couldn't take him to the doctor or enroll him in school. Now, you remember what she said before, right?
Right.
Okay. So she asked her ex for his insurance card, but he never sent it. And you can't take a child to the doctor unless you have custody of him.
Right.
And you can't enroll them in school unless you have legal custody.
Yeah.
So that's why she's saying now, which before she said something different. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now she's saying her husband was wheelchair bound before the stroke, and they had a camera downstairs. That's how they started with the cameras, to make it easier for him to ask the kids to bring up what he needed from downstairs. You know, so her husband had a stroke at the beginning of the year in January.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after that, he ended up getting really bad, and so he moved out in January and moved back in with his parents, and then left her with the kids. Just in case. You're looking at me like you're confused, so just in case, so you're not confused. So that's how the cameras started in the house.
That's her excuse for having cameras.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, when G, the youngest child, was smaller, he would take his clothes off in his room, so they put a camera up in his room so they knew when he was doing that.
Interesting.
Yeah. She said that he was on the spectrum, but he was high functioning. She's talking about Timothy. He was also bipolar, had a sensory disorder, but he didn't have a physical disability.
Was he on medicine?
Timothy? No. Remember, she didn't get him filled, so he ain't on a damn thing.
Okay.
He ain't on nothing.
But wait, which one's the oldest one?
Paul.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
She said when Paul sent her the picture of Timothy, she was in court, and the message came through on her Apple Watch, and the picture was so small she couldn't make it out, so she just responded to the text. She said she didn't look and scroll back in her phone because she had too many messages. So, you know, she didn't, like after her work, she didn't go back to her phone and actually look at that picture. Mm-hmm. You know, she had too many messages. She don't ever scroll back through and look.
Right.
So that day when the message came through, she just saw it on her Apple Watch. The picture was too small. She just responded to the message, and that was it. She didn't ever go back and look or anything.
That sounds convenient, too.
Yeah, well, it's going to come back. She said the hot sauce was originally Paul's idea. She said they had tried other ways of discipline, and it wasn't working, so they thought, maybe that might work. She said she got groceries delivered. That's why the hot sauce was bought online. She didn't have time to go to the store. She said the hot sauce she ordered online was because you couldn't get it in a grocery store. After she just said she got it online because
she can't go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Well, she's contradictory.
Yeah. She said Timothy loved hot food, so it had to be really, really hot in order for it to be a punishment. She said that she may have given him hot sauce, but only 1 or 2 times. She said she doesn't remember telling Paul to put hot sauce on his penis. She said the ice came from a countertop ice maker. The freezer did not have an ice maker, and The ice maker only made 1.5 cups at a time, and it would take about an hour to make some more. She admitted to getting frustrated and discouraged with Timothy, but she said she never intended to hurt him. She said right around Mother's Day, he weighed 104 pounds, and she remembers because they had a Great Dane puppy that was 7 months old and weighed 102 pounds.
So he lost 40-something pounds from Mother's Day till this happened.
Yep. She said she totally relied on Paul when he was at work. She said the reason why her house was filthy is because she had boys. She didn't have time, and she had no energy because she doesn't sleep, and she wasn't the best at cleaning. And so I put in here, I wonder what she's OCD about.
I wonder too, and like,
oh, I
what
find
is
out.
she doing in her downtime?
Yeah, well, I'll find out what she's OCD about. She admitted that she lied to the police. She said she was so freaked out, and then she fake cries. It's so pathetic. You seen it?
Yeah, on that one video.
Oh, God.
Not a tear in her eye.
Is it not so obvious?
It's painstakingly obvious. Like, it's like she kept covering her eyes in attempt to try to make her eyes water and the
Make them red?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was bad. She said the night before he died, she had an hour of sleep, and she was scared that she had just lost her son, and she couldn't think because she was so traumatized. There was no tears. She said she honestly don't know why it took her so long to call 911. Well, because you were trying to cover your tracks.
That's probably the truth.
She said she didn't realize how ill he was.
How do you not notice a 40-pound difference?
The prosecutor said anyone that took one look at him, you would know that he was ill. Even us that didn't know him. And you're his mother. You're very educated and extremely intelligent, and you couldn't see that?
She could see it. She's lying.
She said Timothy avoided her. I wonder why.
I'd avoid her too. Damn, bitch.
She said the day before when she came home, she found Timothy in the tub. She thought that Paul was just splashing him with cold water every so often. She didn't realize that he had put him in an ice bath and left him there the entire day.
Oh, and that's okay?
She said when she got home, she ran him a warm bath.
Lying sack of shit.
One message, she told Paul to make sure that he doesn't sleep. She said it was because he would keep everyone up all night, and if he was going to keep everyone up all night, then he wasn't going to sleep either. She said that Paul had anger issues. He had never shown his anger to anyone in the household except for Timothy. It seemed that Timothy would push his buttons. He would get really angry when playing video games, and she said that Timothy would overreact every time with Timothy. Well, if that's the case, then why did you leave him with Paul all the time then?
Right. It sounds to me like she's trying to throw Paul under the bus.
She said the locks on the refrigerator and freezer she bought because Timothy had eaten 2 pounds of chicken nuggets in the middle of the night, and it scared her to death because you could die from that. She said he has also ate raw meat and raw bacon. And I thought, frozen chicken nuggets, aren't they cooked first? I've never seen a raw nugget. Have you?
No, I haven't. But the point being is that this kid lost 40 pounds. I doubt he ate any of that protein.
But now she has no issues offering him frozen pizza rolls. But she said that's because it wouldn't make him sick. The prosecutor had the same idea I did, though. He said, chicken nuggets are pre-cooked. He was more likely...
Pizza rolls are not. There's actually a thing that was done not too very long ago, maybe about a year ago, where people had gotten some kind of something from not cooking their pizza all the way. And I think it was pizza rolls.
And he said he was more likely to have gotten sick from the raw meat. She was like, are they?
What?
Yeah. It's
Boy,
like
she's smart, ain't she?
I would have been more scared of him eating raw meat and raw bacon before those frozen chicken nuggets. She said they had plenty of food, and she denied having a lock on the pantry. Remember that. And question, who offers their child frozen pizza rolls? And what 15-year-old tries to eat that? Unless they're starving.
Exactly.
He questioned her again about not noticing him being Bones, and she said he always wore baggy clothes. She also said that she was unaware that Timothy had sensitive ears. The alarms that would go off when the doors opened, she didn't know that bothered him.
Really?
Paul said otherwise. It was also used as a punishment. She said she only turned the motion sensors on at night to make sure he didn't come upstairs when they're in bed. So the prosecutor reminded her of a text when she told Paul not to forget to turn off the motion sensors when he went to the bathroom, and when his timer went off to make sure he turned the sensors back on. She didn't remember that.
Oh, that's convenient. Also, is the food upstairs?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He asked her if she allowed the kids to run around the house naked. She said, oh no, that's why the camera is in G's room, because he would strip when he was smaller. He said, so what about the text message that says make him clean the garage with nothing below the waist, and then make him stand against the wall with nothing below the waist? She said, I don't remember.
That's convenient.
He said, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
One text, she is upset with Paul because he wasn't watching the cameras. She said, that was a challenging day. When he asked why, she said, I don't remember. We had a lot of challenging days.
Oh, but she remembers it was a challenging day.
She said the alarms went up about 3 weeks before he died. She told the prosecution that he can look that up on her Amazon history, where she bought the alarms. He said, oh no, I'll do you one better than that. Tell us the date of this text message and then read it to us. It says, he turned on the alarm but slipped past. That's not good. We need to put up the 2 alarms tonight. This was in February.
Mm-hmm.
She said, oh, that was the motion sensors. She said that she calls them alarms. But on January 24th, she refers to the motion sensors as motion sensors.
Oh.
But now she refers to them as alarms.
So which is it?
Yeah. He says, how convenient for you.
Yeah, no shit.
I really like this prosecutor.
I'm going to have to watch that.
He says, as intelligent as you are, you didn't reach out to anyone. Having a child with such severe issues that require you to have motion sensors, locks, and cameras for help. You worked at this courthouse. When you ran out of medication, you didn't ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I didn't ask. She admitted that, yes, it was true that her mother-in-law saw the kids one time in 6 months. And he said, you went to great lengths to keep your mother-in-law out of your house, didn't you? And she said, yeah, because my house was a mess. He said, yeah, you even had a tracker on your mother-in-law's phone.
What?
She said the only reason for that is so she could see where she was when she came to pick up G. He said, really? Can you not call or text? Remember that OCD?
Uh-huh.
Well, she's OCD with all the cameras, motion sensors, trackers. I'm now seeing where her OCDs lie. It's control.
Absolutely. She has to have control of everything.
In March, in Michigan now, she tells Paul to make Timothy stand with his nose to the door and make sure everyone is dressed and take G outside because her mother-in-law was almost there to pick him up, and whatever he does, do not allow her in the house. They stood in the cold instead of just meeting her in the doorway because she didn't want her mother-in-law to see her nasty house.
Wow.
Remember when she said the leg irons were Paul's and they were used for his Legos for a TikTok video?
Yeah.
Well, the prosecutor brought up another text message. She texted Paul and said, ordered the handcuffs and leg cuffs for Timothy from Amazon, figured it would be better if we got those right away until we can talk about the sensors.
Wow.
Guess what? Guess what she said?
What?
I don't remember that.
Oh, but it's right there in black and white.
He said, boy, you really do have memory problems, don't you? One message said, Paul said. He moved around, so he got the handcuffs in front of him instead of behind him. She said, I put the handcuffs back behind him. I'll have to deal with having less than 2 hours of sleep today, but not letting him get away with his bullshit. She said, I don't remember using handcuffs on him. He said, So you don't remember things, but you have the wherewithal to make it look like, no, it wasn't for Timothy. Those were Paul's.
Right, but she doesn't remember anything else
Yeah.
about the cuffs.
He said, that's pretty self-serving, isn't it? And then I hear, objection. I knew it was coming. He said I would draw the question, but he made his point.
Everybody heard it.
Yeah. The zip ties, remember when she said she doesn't remember anything to do with those?
Yeah.
Well, he asked her if she had ever used them on Timothy. She said just to attach the motion sensor to him, and she remembers only hearing about them through Paul's testimony. But she sent Paul a text saying, leave the zip ties on him. I will check them when I get home.
For her to be so smart, she's awful stupid. I mean, she has to know when they got her phone that they were going to discover everything she ever said.
She gives the prosecutor the stink eye.
Everybody knows the stink eye.
And then guess what she says?
What?
I don't remember.
Of course she did. I don't remember either.
Remember Paul's message about the picture he sent her that she couldn't make out because it was on her watch?
She don't remember?
The message read, Timothy tried to sneak food again. I yelled at him and he became momentarily unresponsive. And then I saw this. And that's when he sends the picture. He's bone thin, Mama. I think we actually need to feed him. Her response, Kay, give him bread, please. I hear you. Give peanut butter, jelly, and water. No wonder he's hardly capable of standing. I'm in court. The unresponsive is probably fake, but I see what you mean.
Oh, she saw it, and we need to feed him, actually.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, I thought you didn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, I see what you mean is just a saying. She doesn't remember seeing the photograph. And even if that were true, you admitted that he was barely able to stand and you didn't think he needed medical attention?
Yeah, just give him some peanut butter jelly and a little bread.
Yeah, and she was like, I think I'm going to throw up.
Oh my God.
I think at this point she's realizing that she's fucked.
I hope
do.
she did.
But the prosecutor, he just keeps rolling. He just keeps rolling with it. I mean,
Good. Who cares if she's sick?
Yeah, I really like this dude. He just keeps rolling. The wall sits, you remember those? We talked about them in another child abuse case, you know, where they stand their back against the wall and they have to sit down like they're in an imaginary chair, but there's not a chair there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, apparently those were Paul's idea. Apparently his dad used to make him do it. They only tried it once, only for 2 minutes, but it didn't work. I call bullshit on that.
Yeah, no shit.
The stairs outside when it's cold and rainy, she doesn't remember that. Or what he done to get that punishment. He has her to read another text. Now this text, she takes a deep breath when she reads it. And she wrote this to Paul. I wonder how it would feel to have the hot sauce on your private parts. I'm not saying to touch him there at all, but dripping a little bit there, is that horrible? Guess what she said to that?
I don't remember.
Exactly.
How did I guess?
No idea. About the eyes, she said, tell him if he goes to sleep, he will get an ice bath and then another when I get home. You may want to take the ice out of the ice chest and put it in a Ziploc and put it in the freezer if we need a bunch more. The prosecutor asked her if she ever stored the ice, and she said no. And then he has her to read that text. And then she said that was Paul. She just used cold water.
Are you kidding me?
No. No.
This woman is a piece of work.
Yeah. She stated that she has blood sugar issues, which is why she has a service dog. She says she does keep up with her health and she does get treatment for her mental issues. She has
Wait a minute now. She gets treatment.
right.
The kids don't.
Right.
Oh. Yeah.
She has
Okay.
she has time
Okay.
she has
Okay.
time for that.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Somehow.
Oh my God, I can't stand this woman.
Yeah, somehow she has time for that. She has a sensory disorder, same as Timothy, and the prosecutor says, so you decide with your brilliant mind that you take a child with a sensory disorder who's autistic and you punish him with hot sauce, which affects his taste,
His sensory disorder.
ice bath, just
Sensory.
isolation,
Sensory.
audio alarms,
All of them.
and you think that was appropriate? She said, yes.
Oh, she remembered that, didn't she?
Yeah. He asked her if she had
God.
ever given her dog hot sauce. She said no. Ever put it on bread and fed it to him? Oh, no, they don't eat human food. Okay. Ever put it on dog food? No, I've never even thought of that. But you would do that to your child.
Oh, what did she say to that?
It was Paul's idea. But yes, I was at my wit's end at the time. He asked, would you put your dog in an ice bath? That would never occur to me. She said, animals don't think the way humans do. He said, so is it okay to put a child in an ice bath because they can think like a human? And she said, well, based on the way you ask it, it would have to be yes, but that's not the way I think, so. He refers to a specific law test. He said, you scored so high on that test that paid for your entire tuition to law school. Is that correct? She said, yes. And she rattled off, blah, 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 how high she scored.
Oh,
all
she
that.
was excited about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
she remembered all that.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Well, he's fixing to bury her with it, too.
Good.
He said that test was on logic and reasoning, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And he said, now that is very interesting. I was like, yes, I love this man. He's burnt her ass.
What is his name? That's what I want.
I don't know, but I really like him. You know, he never raised his voice. I mean, he just, oh God,
That's
he just,
self-control right there.
yeah, and he just burnt her. And the look on her face, like, if looks could kill, he would have been dead so many times.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I was cheering for him. Oh my God. Now, the day before he passed away, she told Paul to pour ice water over him. She said she never looked at him when he was in the tub. Well, obviously that's a lie because she had Paul take down the shower curtain and put a camera up so she could directly see in the tub.
Yeah.
As for custody, she was never supposed to have the child to start with. By court order, she was not to have custody of that child. She said she doesn't remember how he got from the bathtub that night before he died to his bedroom, which was the closet. But a text message she sent to Paul read, set your alarm for 6 a.m. I ended up dragging him back to bed to the small room because I wasn't going to risk him having access to the tub or other things overnight. He is still trying to be stupid, but I'll tell you tomorrow when I take you to work describing how many different ways I prove that he is faking. He's still doing it, though. It's beyond ridiculous.
What?
Yeah. The original plan was for him to sleep all night in that tub.
But she drugged him, and she conveniently doesn't remember that text, I'm sure.
She said that she had no idea how he ended up from the bathroom to the bedroom. And then the prosecutor reminded her of that text.
Yeah. Did
No.
that jog her memory?
No, she don't remember.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now, after she drags him to the closet, she positions him in front of the camera, making sure his face is facing it, and tells him, and this is the last thing this child hears. She tells him that he owes her the biggest apology in the entire world, and then maybe you can go to the bathroom. As she goes upstairs, the emotion alarm goes off because he's rolled over.
Mm-hmm.
She goes back downstairs and says, "You can breathe with your mouth closed, dummy," while she puts her hand over his mouth and closes it. That's the last thing he hears.
He dies after that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And guess what she says?
What?
"I don't remember that."
Oh my God.
Those were the last words he ever heard, and the last words she spoke to her son. "You can breathe with your mouth closed, dummy."
Were they able to get video footage of
Yep.
that?
They have that on video.
Oh,
And she says, "I don't remember that." And he was like, "Well, let's play the tape."
yeah, let's do.
And she said, "Oh, no, that's not necessary. I believe you."
Did they play it anyway?
No.
They should have.
Another text message states, she texts to Paul, "What did he get into?" And Paul says, "I don't know, chips or something small in his pocket." She said, "Okay, well then, tell him he just restarted his not eating again."
Oh,
But guess what she said?
what?
"Don't remember." Another text. She tells Paul, "Timothy ripped off the locks off the fridge, freezer, and pantry." Remember, she said there wasn't no locks on the pantry.
Yeah, but there they are. But
So-
here's the thing: how did Timothy do that if he couldn't even walk
Well, this apparently this was
before he got
Yeah.
like that? Okay.
Apparently from the text, he had been standing against the wall with his arms up, and he put his arms down, so he got in trouble for sneaking food. The prosecution said to her, "Did it ever occur to you that you don't punish someone by taking food away from someone who is sneaking food? You get help for that?" She said, "I don't know what I was thinking." And another text was, "Timothy is nowhere allowed any place where food is." She don't remember that.
But she didn't realize he was losing weight, and he's because he always wears baggy clothes, and he's not eating, and she don't know why. Whatever.
Yeah, she always said it was never about food. It was all about him sneaking and being deceitful. I think it was because he was starving to death. They began to lock up food in February. And she don't even get him professional help.
Humans are going to fight for their life.
Yeah,
Just like
and
animals.
and the
if
thing
you
about
starve
it
an
is-
animal, they're going to eat something,
Yeah,
even if it's you.
and the thing about it is if you're having to lock up the refrigerator, the freezer, the pantry, their door, and then you've got you have to put up cameras, motion sensors, all that shit is not normal. They need some help. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
You need to take them to find out what's wrong. You shouldn't have to do all that.
It'd be different if you had a horrendously fat kid that was killing themselves by overeating.
Overeating, yes.
And then you regulate how much food to
They
teach them
eating.
how to have more regulation skills. This was
Yes.
a malnourished child.
And then you still take them to get them help because there's the reason why they're eating that way.
Right. Because it's not normal.
And she is the top of her class in law
She knew
school.
what she was doing. She didn't send them to school. She didn't take them to the doctor.
Nothing.
Because she didn't want people to know what she was doing. She's smart enough to know that they would
Oh,
know.
yeah. Oh,
As soon
yeah.
as they saw it, DCS would be on her doorstep.
Yep. Describing the multiple alarms being put on him, she said, she tells Paul to take off the alarm that was on his arm, but tell him that she would be counting how many times he moves his arm from the camera, and that he would be doing stairs for it tomorrow. Apparently, he was standing again with his arms up. This was at 11 o'clock at night. When asked about him getting in trouble for eating the crust of the burger, her text told Paul to make him throw it up. She said she didn't remember that. And then she said it was never about food. It was about his sneakiness and his deceit. Another text, she said, she asked if Timothy worked hard enough today so you and I could get some sleep tonight. I know we will both have to work super hard tomorrow to do the same, but wanted to ask about tonight first. And she said that Timothy wanted a trade-off, so she had him to do some chores. He traded sleep for chores. Does that make any sense to you?
0 cents.
Okay, because it didn't make a lick of sense to me. On the bathroom timer, Paul sent her a text that said Tim was on a 5-minute bathroom timer. She said, why 5 minutes? He's only allowed 30 seconds for urination, 60 seconds for poop. Why is he on 5 minutes? She said, I don't remember that. But she did admit that it was cruel to time a child when going to the bathroom.
That was mighty nice of her.
One message, she threatens to make him sleep in the garage. She said she was very frustrated that day and she was only venting.
Right.
Tim ate powdered pancake mix one time, and she punished him by giving him hot sauce in his mouth every 30 minutes until Paul went to work. She said she was worried about the eggs in the mix. She called him a dummy again, but said she never uses that word. She only used it 2 times.
Oh, right. Yeah, the time that
he died.
Yeah.
Now,
she remembered that.
This about made me cry, besides that.
Yeah.
Because he had an accident and pooped on himself, he had to clean the garage nude from the waist down. And when he was finished, he was told to put his nose to the wall, still nude from the waist down. She asked Paul to ask him why he did it. He did. And Paul told her that he said it was because he didn't want to disturb anybody.
Oh my God, that's terrible. Didn't want to disturb anybody.
That's it.
Yeah. That's beyond sad.
She said she was severely traumatized when he died. She doesn't remember hardly anything, but she was able to work in circuit court. She was able to make up a lie to the cops and to remind Paul every day to take the dog out for potty breaks. Mm-hmm. She can remember things like that, but nothing that she had done to make a negative impact toward her. Now, the medical examiner said that he was extremely emaciated. He was 68 inches tall, which is 60% in the 60th percentile rate for his age. And at 15 years old, he weighed 69 pounds, and that's in the 0 percentile for his age.
Yeah, like nobody weighs that age.
Yeah, he had 0 body fat. Even on the inside, no body fat.
So he was skin and bones, literally.
Yeah, literally. His cheeks were extremely narrow. His bones were protruding. You could count all of his bones. You could count all of his ribs. His back was getting pressure sores because his skin was so thin. He had no padding. And his skin was so thin you could see the tissues underneath. Like you could see through his skin.
It's a wonder he lived as long as he did like that.
Yeah. His stomach had Wisniewski spots, which are dark brown spots in the lining of the stomach. And they're usually seen in 2 cases. One in a diabetic when they go into ketoacidosis, but he was tested and he did not have that. And the other one is in hypothermia. Remember the ice bath?
Yeah.
His other organs had changes in what you would expect with somebody who was, extremely malnourished. The organs are smaller. And when somebody is malnourished, the body isn't equipped to handle any kind of cold. So, he wouldn't have been able to even shiver. He just...
Yeah, because that's the
hormones,
neural response, isn't it? To
your hormones is what gives your body, tells your body...
Warm you back up.
Yeah. And hypothermia weakens the body so much, and it lowers the heart rate, and it speeds up the process of dying. He was last at the doctor in 2019 when he was 12 years old. He was in the 46th percentile, weighing at 96 pounds. His cause of death was dehydration, malnourishment with exogenous hypothermia. And exogenous, if I'm saying that right, that just means outside of the body. Exo is out, you got outside and inside. Basically, that means the body itself didn't cause it. So something from outside of the body.
Which would be the ice bath.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah. So it didn't come from, the body didn't malfunction on the
inside. It'd be like
inside.
being left outside in 0 degree
in the
weather.
cold, yeah. He also had some bruising. Now, the judge threw the book at her, which I totally 100%, 1,000% agree with. But what about Paul? Is he a victim or is he a parasite? Oh, Paul. Now, on the stand, a lot of people thought he was autistic in some shape or form. And a lot of people watched the court. And a lot of people wrote in thinking that he was autistic or he had something wrong with him mentally.
Yeah.
Even you said it.
Yeah, when I watched the parts that I did watch, he just appeared to me like he was a victim of abuse himself and that he was responsive to an abusive pattern, you know, nature versus nurture kind of thing, you know.
Go ahead. I want to know exactly what you thought when you saw him.
Yeah, like, I mean, I thought immediately that if he had been raised by very controlling parents, he wouldn't have the perception that everybody else, like a regular person would have, he would be more afraid of the consequences that would be involved than he would anything. And he was always reaching for love from his parents, and he was very angry with his father. But he was disassociative of his mother's behavior, convinced that she was doing everything for their highest good.
Okay. All right. So he was slow at times to respond, but the words that he used them appropriately, and he used some a little complicated words at times. Now, you could tell that he was socially awkward. His father raised him, his parents split, and CPS was involved frequently in their lives. In fact, the reason Shonda wasn't allowed to have custody of Timothy was because Timothy was diagnosed, out of all things, failure to thrive.
Imagine that.
Who would have thought? Now, Paul painted his picture of his father as a horrible abuser. Made him work 2 jobs while attending school to a point to where he only slept 4 hours at night and then took half of his paycheck. Then would ask money from him and never repay him, would give him harsh punishment, and then kicked him out when he was 18 years old. That's why he came to live with his mother. His father told him all kinds of bad things about his mother, that she didn't want him, she didn't love him. You know, the kind of things you say to a child when you don't love them. Mm-hmm. Because if you did love him, no matter what their parent did, and no matter what kind of piece of shit they was, that's still their parent.
Yeah.
They mean something to that child. You don't have to lie, but you don't have to badmouth them either. When they grow up, they'll be able to understand and they'll respect you for that. Believe me, I'll be the very first one to tell you that that's extremely hard to do when you want to tell your kids why their father didn't pick them up and do what they, what he said they were going to do. And you have to look them in the eye when they think he's a saint. And you're not telling them exactly why things are the way they are, and you're busting your ass to provide. But, you don't want to hurt your kids. Your job is to protect them.
It's a double-edged sword every time.
Yeah. But, I done it. And I'm nowhere near perfect, but...
Me too.
But then I wonder, damn, where are these parents from,
Yeah.
Did Satan open up a hole somewhere and spit these people out where
Yeah.
So anyway, Paul was evaluated, and the court did everything to make sure that they were seeing this from every angle. And I must say, I actually respect the way this court case was handled. The prosecution was appreciative of his cooperation to testify against his mother and recognized how difficult that must have been, and agreed that a lot of what he was doing was under his mother's instruction. However, they also pointed to the messages and times where he seemed to take pleasure in having power and control over his brother. In a police interrogation, he finally admits to hitting his brother in the head once and then admits it happens often. The prosecution understood if the judge went above or below the statute, but did request that he would impose the maximum to be a life sentence just in case he never sought help and got treatment for his issues. Then the state would be able to keep him locked up. He stated without treatment, he posed a danger to the public. He stated that he was antisocial and a sociopath. He said he felt no remorse for what he was doing when he was doing it. He didn't think it was wrong. Well, now that piqued my attention even more, so I turned up the speakers. Do what?
Yeah.
I can see that. but I need more info.
Mm-hmm.
The defense cited his upbringing, no social interactions, being forced and controlled by his father, then his mother, being easily manipulated. He was doing what he was told to do, and it really came down to that. He didn't want to upset her, and he was afraid that he would end up with the same treatment. The defense kind of saw what you were seeing.
Yeah.
Well, the judge read over the thousands of text messages, and he did so 3 times. Paul was also evaluated. He is not on the spectrum. He is not autistic. He has no mood disorder, no psychotic disorder. He has no intellectual disabilities.
So he's perfectly fine.
What you are seeing is a person who lacks socialization. He lacks experience. He has poor interpersonal skills. He has emotional dysregulation. So
that's a good concoction for somebody who would hurt other people in society.
Well,
the brother was convenient.
The doctor cited that he is not easily manipulated.
Really?
He did take pleasure at times implementing punishment on his brother. He liked having power and control over his brother, and he even stated to him that it did feel good. He stated in his opinion he was not afraid of his mother, as he had disagreed and disobeyed her on more than one occasion.
That's true.
He also stated that he was capable of seeing what was happening, and he knew right from wrong. He knew that he was skinny, and he knew that what he needed was food, but failed to give that to him when he had plenty opportunities to do so. The doctor stated that he was capable of appreciating the abuse against his brother and the detrimental impact it was having. He also said he recognized to some degree the pleasure in having power and control over his brother. I could not substantiate his involvement being a byproduct of his suggestibility or coercion. When asked if he felt any shame when he was abusing his brother, and he said no. He asked if he recognized that his actions were wrong at the time, and he said no. He asked him when he sent that picture to his mother, being concerned, did he think that his behavior was wrong? And he said that thought never even crossed his mind. Listen to this. Another report from July 22nd, 2012, a doctor stated that his stepmother, this is before he went to his mother's house, stated that sometimes Paul bullied his brother Timothy, mentions cruelty to animals, flag, stealing, abuse. His stepmother had complained about him being bossy to his siblings and irritable. He stated the reason he was irritable was due to his siblings not listening. His stepmother stated he gets physically aggressive toward his siblings, and he locked Timothy in the closet because he wouldn't listen.
Wow.
And then I said, I see a man who is on the path of being on the ID channel in a few years, unfortunately. I mean, call it nature, nurture, or both, but that's just my opinion. The judge stated that he thinks he was submissive to his mother simply because he had nowhere else to go. In one text message, the judge stated that Shonda said, if Timothy doesn't behave, I'm going to leave him to you. And the judge said, as in, she's going to let the dog out and off the chain. He said that Paul is constantly telling his mother the things that are going on that's bad, as if he's wanting her to tell him to punish him so he can. The judge brought up the fact that he would bully his brother when he was younger, and a statement from someone before the police ever gave any information as to what happened stated that she doesn't know how involved Paul was in this situation, but he is the biggest bully that she's ever met in her life, and that he found genuine joy in tormenting Timothy whenever possible.
Wow. You know what? The apple don't fall far from the fucking tree.
He said he sees Paul as being someone predisposed in abusing his brother. They removed him from their home at the age of 18 because of his behavior with his siblings. That's why he got kicked out.
That's the truth.
The judge acknowledges that he has undergone years and years abuse by his parents, but to ask the court to ignore his decisions or his behavior because of that, and to somehow say that we are going to minimize the damage that was done in this case because of that, if the court started imposing that standards, we would be in real trouble, because every defendant that comes before this court has a horrible story, I would say. That's the reason why we are here. People that have good parents and who are supported usually don't come through here. That's not always the case, but there is a lot of intervention. Everyone has a history. What I'm trying to decide is a product of his mother, his situation, and what I conclude is that Mr. Ferguson is trying to shift the blame from himself to his mother to say that if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have done this, or she's the one that have done this.
But the same goes for her, too.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. When I first listened to his statement, I actually even identified him a little bit of having Stockholm Syndrome. He was good. He was crafty. Wow.
Hold on to your biscuits, woman. In the trial, you kept saying, at her order, at her order, at her order. If that had been one or two incidents, maybe the court could have accepted that. We have an individual who is in a household for 6 months and intentionally himself engaging in torture himself of another person. He said he was afraid to disobey his mother, but reports say otherwise, and he did otherwise on occasion. He said this has been a careful, manipulated story by Mr. Ferguson. Paul had mentioned that maybe he had Stockholm Syndrome.
Oh.
Or Asperger's Syndrome. No, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
We have two individuals that lack emotion and who lack empathy. Once that stepdad was gone, these two individuals were free to torture somebody, and they did it. He does believe that Shonda used him, but he also thinks that Paul was more than happy to be that enforcer.
Yeah, I think you're right. Here's the thing. I wonder if they've investigated anything about the stepdad. Have they talked to the stepdad?
The stepdad died.
Oh.
None of this started until his stepdad moved out.
That'd be interesting to look into.
While the judge was at this point, Paul's face was red and he had his fist balled together and he looked like he was going to cry or explode. You could see the strain on his face. He was pissed. The judge stated that his concern was not that he would not get the help that he needed in prison, and that he was one step away from being a psychopath like his mother.
Yeah.
And I agree totally. And he feels he represents a danger to the public, and if released, he would be dangerous.
Yeah, because he's going to find another outlet for that.
He said, I think you're sorry you're here, and you're sorry that you got caught. I don't think like your mother, you wanted him to die because you didn't want to get caught and you wouldn't have anyone to torture anymore. I think you're just as bad as your mother, if not worse.
Yep.
And then he said, you are sentenced to 30 to 100 years. Paul's face, he was bowed like his head was down. And when he said 30 to 100 years, he yanked his face up so quickly, like he really got his attention that time. Like he was totally dumbfounded.
He didn't think that was going to happen, did he?
No. And I agree. He said, Mr. Ferguson, I do believe you are a product of your environment, and I don't believe you're sorry, and I don't believe you have any empathy. And that is what scares the court. It really scares me. In an interview, he said he liked getting praise from Shonda. Shonda Vander Ark was found guilty of first-degree murder, and she got sentenced to life without parole. She also was found guilty of child abuse resulting in death of a child, and the judge exceeded the statute, and she got 50 to 100 years for that. Paul Ferguson was found guilty of child abuse, and he got 30 to 100 years. So,
Rot in prison. Both of them.
Yeah.
So much for his electronic device addiction.
Oh, yeah. He said he was so addicted to electronics. Well, I hate that for you, buddy.
Yep. And this, of all places that they could be, where they're now the controlled.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think? Do you think it's nature or nurture on this
I
one?
think it's a little of both. I really think it's just a toxic combination of both. And, yeah, you can't. The apple don't fall far from the tree many times.
And I guess I should say here on Shonda's trial, her grown kids, both of them, wished her both life in prison.
Yeah, and neither of them called her mother.
Oh, yeah. Neither one of them called her mother, and just hope she rotted in prison, if that kind of told you anything about her.
She never looked at her children.
No.
Not
never.
one time.
No.
And the whole time that the judge wasn't she talking the time? No, when the prosecution was talking.
Oh, yeah.
When he said his victim statement, she talked the whole time.
To her attorney, yeah.
But she wouldn't look at nobody that was on that stand.
Mm-mm. No.
I can't stand her. I hope she rots.
Yep. That's awful what she done.
She thought care.
She thought she was smart enough, to go through it. Oh, and I listened to some of her jailhouse phone calls.
Yeah.
She's talking to, I think, her best friend. And
you mean she's still got a friend?
Yeah, that was the only person that she talked to through all these calls. So I guess that's her one and only or whatever.
Yeah.
She was talking about the PTSD with delusions, and she was talking about it. If she don't remember it, then they couldn't. There's no way that they could prosecute you on something that you don't even remember or whatever. Yeah, look how that worked for her.
Yeah, it worked real well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if she still, even
So
if there were
obvious.
any truth to that, which we know there's not, even if there were though, she's still a risk to society. Fuck her.
Yeah.
I'm glad she was tried in the same
Courthouse that she worked in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she deserves. What's it like on the other side of the bench?
Oh,
lady?
yeah. And another thing, guess what?
What?
She's freezing to death in the prison.
Bless her heart. I hope she freezes the rest of her life.
I hope she freezes to death because of those fucking ice baths. That's what she gets. I was like, oh,
that'd do a
karma's
little
bitch.
too much justice. That wouldn't be any justice for her to freeze to death. She needs to be forced to stay alive to the brink of death.
She don't want to eat their food, so she keeps asking that girl for money so she can get her food. I hope that girl quits giving her money so she has to eat their damn food. Oh, she starves to death.
That girl is crazy if she's being friends with that bitch. Like, excuse my language, folks, but I have a lot of expletives for this lady.
Yeah, you and me both. Anyway, before we get knocked off for all of our cussing on this episode, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up now. So, if you like the show, minus all the words, please like and subscribe. And if you can become a premium member, please do so. And if you can, hop on over to Jamie's channel. It's Southeastern Soul Tribe. And this episode is sponsored by
Southern Sass Productions.
Yes. And until next time, guys, stay out of rest stops and be safe.
See you guys.